Hello, 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 y'all. We are back with another episode. This one is the Bravo episode. The ones that y'all really tune in for these. No shade to the pop culture episodes, but y'all need to watch those too.
Please.
We have Nelini from Real Housewives of Politics joining us today, and I'm so honored to have her on because we have been wanting you on for a while. We've been trying to set this up for a while, and now we finally got you.
And also, it's the first day of Black History Month. So it just feels
Yes.
like the stars are aligned.
Yes, thanks for having me, y'all. I'm a huge fan and love all the content and the podcast. Y'all do gotta listen to the pop culture episodes too, because those also
Please.
spit hot fire.
Thank
I'm
you. Like
trying to.
maybe if you say it, a woman of your stature and like admirability, some more people listen. Because I will say, y'all did run the numbers up once we started talking traders and all that stuff. But we shouldn't have to talk a Bravo episode for y'all to tune in. But that's for another day. So, anyways, we're here today for some very important things, mainly to introduce you to our audience who most of them they already know you. But for some of them who don't know, we kind of just want to get down to like the nitty gritty of how you became like the icon that you are today. Like you set up events, you talked about on major networks. Like you are here, you are there, you are everywhere. You're not afraid to mention it all. And I mean, like you're someone who, as a Black content creator or as a content creator in general, and just a general citizen of the world, not like Dorit, like a real one. Just and I just admire you, and I would like to know, like, how did you get where you're at? What advice do you have for us? And how did you even how did we get the blessing of just like even catching your eye? Because you are a very busy woman.
No, well, I appreciate that, and I'm excited to be here. But yeah, so I mean, there's a lot of different ways I could tell my story, but I'll start with this. I actually started out as a child actress. Back when I was like 5 or 6 years old, I was going to auditions, going to movie theaters, being in movies and all of these things. And to be honest, like that set me on the path of where I am today, which is the intersection of culture and politics, right? Like I always cared about the world as a Black woman. I'm Afro-Latino as well. I'm a child of my dad's from Belize. My mom's family is from Puerto Rico. So I kind of knew that like the world didn't really like immigrants or didn't really like Black people or didn't really like queer people. I'm queer. My mom's a lesbian. She came out during the 90s. And so just like all of these things in my life made me always be like, I like culture. I come from great cultures, the Caribbean. And also like I'm very socially aware of how, especially in the United States, that stuff was just not it wasn't set up to be for everyone. It was really just set up for like white rich men. And so just like all of my life, I've wanted to do work that's in the intersection, but I've always been either one side or the other, either really political, working on electoral campaigns, presidential campaigns, you name it, or really cultural where I started a chorus called the Resistance Revival Chorus, and we performed with Kesha at the Grammys a few years ago when she did her song about kind of escaping Uncle Luke and, all that stuff. So I've always had these two different worlds, and I was like, you know what? I got to bring these together. And my organization, I work for the Working Families Party. It's where I've worked for 15 years, so most of my adult life. I'm 36. And a few years ago, honestly, during the pandemic, I got back into reality television. I kind of took a pause because I was like, they're not really talking about real issues. And I was one of those crunchy, activists that didn't want to have any fun for a while. And, but I had COVID and I lost a couple family members, and just seeing the community, especially on Bravo, watching y'all, watching Queens of Bravo, watching all these different accounts, have each other's backs and be there and talk about Bravo shows during the pandemic was an escape for me. It allowed me to have like a sense of hope and joy of community that I haven't had before. And so to me, that was a moment where I was like, wow, this community really saved me. I was really depressed. I was in New York at the time. New York had people dying every week.
Yeah.
And then I was like, how can I don't want to ruin community and fun and kiki with just like talking about all the things that are going on in the world. So we created Real Housewives of Politics, which is a content page where we're using Housewives memes and Bravo memes to talk about real world politics. So we're not getting into their own things, although, when some of them, Dorit, like to be like, I don't see color or whatever, we'll mention it all. But we don't like to we're not a content account that's talking too much about the Bravo chisme or the Bravo, gossip or the Bravo, what's happening. We're really trying to explain political events and explain things that are happening in the culture that have to do with politics through memes that people understand and that are iconic. Like meeting people where they're at.
And that's very important. We need to see stuff like that. And I think, we have pages that are for fun, like, where we gossip. I think we're not really a gossip page, but, we engage in the humor and the fun side of it. But it's nice to see that you're doing something so important to where people can also understand it, that watch Housewives, because they click on it and now they're educated and they're also humor.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think it's really important that, that pages and folks like Bravo While Black, all these content creators who have been talking about where is, Black folks, Latinos, right? People have been really raising those issues, and I think that created a space to talk about it. So, thank y'all for creating those spaces to talk about race and dynamics on our favorite programs and networks, because that's important too, right? If we can't see ourselves reflected, and I'm not trying to be like, look, I don't make that kind of money, I'm not going to be reflected in that way, but we can see people who do have stories because that are like our own. So I credit pages like y'all's that actually allowed us to be able to have the space to be like, look, yeah, we're going to talk about some real stuff in the world, using these, using iconic memes and using things that we all know in the culture.
Right.
I love that. And thank you for citing us as an inspiration, because we always say that our sole purpose is honestly to entertain, but it would be remiss of us if we did not talk about some real world issues. And that's why it was just so hard to really just get out there, especially during the election time in 2020. It was just, and when you kind of, we didn't blow up all at once, but when you get groups and groups of people following you from maybe one post or maybe one clip or one episode, sometimes you don't know who that is following you, and you have to remind them real quick when certain things happen that, baby, this meme was funny, but at the end of the day,
account.
we are black. It's just like when Beyonce dropped Lemonade, and all of a sudden white people realized that she was black. It was like, yes, she's been black the whole time, man. But this time she just has to talk about it and really bring that to the forefront. And obviously it's crazy that things are running full circle now, because we started in 2020. We originally didn't really want to, or not that we didn't want to talk about politics or anything serious. It was more that just wasn't the plan. We were just trying to get our minds off of COVID and just talk with each other. But then when, the murder of George Floyd happened, it was like, oh, well, now that anyone is listening, if we have any kind of platform to stand on, we got to stand 10 toes down and really tell us what's going on. And then now it's 2024, things are happening. It's an election year, but we built the people that listen to and follow and support us. And even if we don't have the same views overall, we do try to make sure that we have the same core values. And that's important, to have, because we realize that we just might not always agree on certain things, and that's okay. And that's something that we've learned over time. What we are really looking at is how are these people treating one another, and also what is the network doing in order to diversify things, because at the end of the day, the network can put 20 Black people on 20 different shows. It matters how the people around them react. And have they
Mm-hmm.
gotten it right all the time? No. But what matters is that they're trying to see what happens. And, each
Yeah.
and every, year, something different is announced, whether it's a new cast member or a new show, like, Summer House, Martha's Vineyard. So
Mm-hmm.
I feel like it has been working, but the only downside of it is that every time something happens, we're expected to have like a press conference. And sometimes it's just like, I'm not Kamala. Well, I am Kamala because y'all don't see me, but I'm not the Speaker of the House, baby. Like, of
Mm-hmm.
course, we have our feelings and our opinions on it, but at the same time, not everything needs a post. Not everyone needs to be like reprimanded,
Mm-hmm.
or a lot of the
Mm-hmm.
times, our biggest thing is that people will comment, but they don't watch our stories, but they don't listen
Yeah.
to the podcast. They don't pay attention to
Mm-hmm.
so many other outlets where we address certain things. They just
Mm-hmm.
think that we're just an Instagram page and we'll just take to Instagram for it. I can put something on Threads that will never see the light of day on Instagram, or I'll say something on the podcast that you'll never see on Threads or Instagram or Twitter. We have so many different outlets these days that it is frustrating. So my question is that you're very different in us in the sense that you make it entertaining and you make things relatable, which we do, but your sole purpose was politics. But do you ever feel a burden of like, man, this happened, so now I have to address it? Do you ever feel that?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, to be honest, like we didn't know how to talk about the war that's going on in Israel Palestine because so many people have feelings, and here's what we won't do. We will not, and just personally, even me, like I will not lead into anti-Semitism, and I also won't lead into dismissing Palestinians because their rights have been dismissed for a really long time. That's a really hard thing to do in a memeable, like we didn't really know what to say.
Right.
And so we haven't, like, I know a lot of people have been like, oh, you haven't said stuff. And we uplifted something that Pete Davidson, he did his cold open and SNL. And we were like, oh, this is great. Like, he sounds better than, and we were like, oh, this is a way that we can kind of, because we're also sassy. This is a place to be like sassy and not so serious about things, even if they are serious topics. And it's really hard to be like unserious about war. Like, it is a serious topic. People die. But yeah, there are times so there's times on that end. And there are a lot of times on also when people want us to comment on racial dynamics or dynamics that happen in Bravo, like the reality, the Bethany television. Like, I actually have worked with and still collaborate with former reality stars on Love is Blind. My friend who came from Movement was a star of 90 Day Fiance, Tanya, who a lot of people remember for a little bit, right? And she's been on The Single Life. And a lot of them were coming to me being like, we do need to unionize. But also Bethany was not the right person to be rallying it. So I kind of was like, I don't want to touch Bethany. Like, I was like, I was like, no. But I do believe that reality television people need a union or more rights or some more standards across the board, because it really is up to what production company is doing stuff. So it was like, so yeah, there are a lot of times where I'm just like, or we talk about it, with like our volunteers, but also like some of the other content creators that post on it, because it's not just me. And there are a lot of times where it's stuff on Bravo we don't want to touch, or like in the news in the world we don't want to touch. Like George Santos, I was like, this is getting old. I don't want to continue to platform this queen who is, who has been harmful to our communities. Like, let him go. Like, the more that we platform him, the more cameo videos he's going to get, and he's going to get rich off of this. He's going to get rich off the fact that he scams people in his constituents in his district, which my dad lives in, right? Like, he's screwing over my dad as an elected official. I don't want to platform him, but so many people were talking about it. So it is like one of those, like, how do you, we're not going to make a press conference after a while. And some things in politics, at the intersection of politics and culture, you just got to leave, because those folks want to get careers. Like, there's going to be a George a George Santos like scammer documentary. Am I going to watch it? Absolutely, because I worked in New York most of my life in politics. And do I believe that like as pop culture enthusiasts, we have a role sometimes to not platform people or that it'll spin? Yeah. So yeah, it's a hard line to figure out what to respond to and what not to. But it's also 2024. So a lot of our content moving forward is going to be about the election, right? Because we want to explain stuff in a way that cuts through some of the BS, in my opinion, that is out there and really just gets to like, look, these people are trying to harm you. These people will harm you sometimes, but not as bad. Because that's the choices that we have these days, to be honest.
So when you say you said that multiple people run the account. Like, tell me about some of the people that run the account and like how you came to be a collective that curates like this amazing account.
Yeah. So my day job and is at the Working Families Party, and I found there's this amazing organization called Fandom Forward. They were formerly known as the Harry Potter Alliance, but when J.K. Rowling went on her anti-trans stuff, they, changed their name. And so they were...
Oh, Aaron drops out sometimes. He'll be back. It's just
okay.
the internet.
No worries. I was like, So the Fandom Forward is an organizing coalition that organizes fandoms. And so fandoms that we identify as like anything that any fans that are in love with a piece of media or a boy band or a TV series. It could be sports, right? Like, and fandoms are communities that are organized, right? We have just like the Bravo fandom, like we're organized in some ways, right? We have there's content creators. Some of us try to go to premieres if we can. We watch this, we watch that. There's debriefs, right? And so I learned kind of fandom I've been an organizer for a long time, but I learned through the Fandom Forward organization how to take my life as a fan, because like I have an Ewok tattoo right here. I'm a Star Wars fan. I am a Marvel Cinematic Universe fan. I just watched Percy Jackson and it was amazing. I was a big fan of those books. So I've been a fan all my life, but have never figured out a way to also harness that in organizing, because you don't want to be inauthentic. But I'm like a nerd in those circles and have been a fan of things. So I started the page and reached out to a friend of my friend's sister-in-law. Her name's Courtney Perkins. Shout out to Courtney.
Hey.
And she runs the account Not All Geminis. So people who like astrology, she's got about 600,000 plus followers and is in the astrology girly kind of, And so I always followed her, didn't realize she was my friend's sister. And I was like, do you want to work on this and collab with us on creating memes so that we're educating folks? And, yes, I'm going to be really transparent. We fundraise for this stuff because we're an organization and we've gotten resources to help stipend people as content creators. And we've, done things with, while we've raised money to actually provide for other content creators in the universe as well. But our biggest thing is that we are so the first thing that comes first is thinking about the fans and figuring out how we can exercise politics in that space. And the one moment that really, really there's two moments that meant a lot to me. We had our launch party before my first BravoCon, which was 2022. And we launched it during the midterms, and somebody brought their voter registration card with them. They had never registered to vote, and they brought it with them to show us.
That's amazing.
And that really touched my heart, because that's what makes a difference, right? More and more people that we can, obviously you want to get to scale, but that kind of stuff, when somebody's like, I saw your page and I forgot that I need to register to vote for the midterms. Now that person's not going to, after all that, after coming to BravoCon with your voter registration card, you ain't going to forget to vote. And so that, to me, that's the type of stuff. That's why we do what we do, right? Is it's not necessarily, we're not going to change everybody's minds, but if we can get people active, we can get people a little bit more in the know with their language, that to me at the end of the day, that's what's worth it.
That's literally perfect and such important work that you're doing. And I think that it's it may be lost on an older generation. I'm not gonna say Gen X because Gen X, I feel like they're the people who kind of originally like started fandoms
Sure.
before the internet. Like they, but maybe the generation before that, I feel like they don't realize like how much power fandoms have. Look, not like look at the Swifties, look at the Beehive, look at the Barbs, look at the Harry Potter fans, the Star Wars fans, and it's like they think that we just sit and just talk about the piece of content that we're named, that's the namesake all day, but really it's like no, like we're getting to know each other as human beings and we're able to influence each other in a different way, and it's just all
Mm-hmm.
about how people communicate with each other. So that is so dope, and just content creating is something that, I mean, just imagine trying to explain a meme about Bravo Housewives to someone from like the 1800s. So, like, I don't even like where do you even start?
Where
But
do
it's
you
just
start?
so important. Like, it's
Mm-hmm.
so important, and I just think that that's so awesome. Like your backstory and also what you're doing now, and that's just something that we always hope to do. If we can even just change one person's mind or bring value to one person's day or even just entertain one person for 1 hour, that's
Exactly.
all we can hope to do, and that is an amazing thing that you're doing. So you mentioned BravoCon. I know that
Mhm.
you throw these epic like talk of the town parties every BravoCon. I have not been able to go to one because usually
Yeah, I
with
gotta come.
BravoCon,
Yeah, I
usually
know.
with BravoCon, I just started traveling like a few years ago because before that I was just not able to travel. I didn't know I was able to travel. But like in New York, I was by myself, so I wasn't gonna go anywhere really. So then when we went to Vegas, I was with Aaron, but that was like Aaron's first time traveling, and it was also my first time traveling all the way across the
Mhm.
country. And then like when I got there, I genuinely did not think that I was gonna be able to stay there because I think I freaked myself out because I'm very open about I have sickle cell disease. So I was in like a different
Mm-hmm.
environment. We had a long flight. I'm like, how am I gonna get through 3 days of
Yeah,
like
yeah.
nonstop craziness? And I had just
And we
gotten out of
both
the
have
hospital.
anxiety.
Yeah.
So
Oh
on
yeah.
top of that, we were just sitting in the Airbnb like,
Yeah, we didn't even go
huh.
to the strip. We had a freaking Airbnb. But like
No,
we
that's
fully
real.
plan on, because the talk of the town is, I don't know, the people are saying that Vegas is the place for BravoCon. And if that is true, we have some experience with Vegas now. We know what to do, what not to do. So we'll have more time to like debrief and party, and also we'll never get a fucking Delta flight to go all the way to Michigan or wherever the fuck we were in Detroit, right? We had to go all the way to
Yeah.
Detroit and then fly from Detroit to Vegas. That was not it. But the only
Uh,
nonstop flight to Vegas is Spirit, and we don't want to turn into Spirit, so we just have to figure out a different way to get
ooh,
there. But
ooh, yeah, that's rough.
but with that being said, we fully intend to come to your next soiree, and if you have one before BravoCon, let us know. And we'll try to make it once we start making money. But my question is like, how was BravoCon for you? BravoCon 2023, the latest one.
Yeah.
How was the
Mhm.
party, and how did you like it compared to the actual event, to the BravoCon before?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, so that's a great question. And also, I just want to thank y'all for being like really transparent. Like, I also have anxiety. And so that like a high level anxiety. And I also have long COVID. So I have been dealing with like my whole body. And I had just found out this BravoCon, I had just found out that basically I had just started taking Ozempic, which was great. Like I've been, because I have insulin resistance. So I found out
Hmm.
I was insulin resistant. I found out all of these things. So I was kind of like already going in being like, my body feels different because I'm on a diet
Yeah, just
and
feel
now I'm
off.
taking Ozempic, and also all the things around Ozempic in
Yeah.
our community is like, like, so I
Yeah,
kind of was just like, whoa, like a little bit like this year.
yeah.
Um, but yeah, I mean, and like Vegas, I have like a love hate relationship with. Like, I have to travel a lot for work. I have done some amazing. I love that Vegas is a great place, but also there was like a union strike that could have happened. It didn't. They settled, which was great. But like I was this level of anxious because we would have had to cancel everything. Like especially me as a public spokesperson for my organization, like I can't be seen crossing a picket line, you know? So I was kind of like the whole time, the weeks before, it was like, I can't cross the picket line. So I was like, I don't know what I'm going to do. But thankfully, like literally 2 days before, they settled because, you know, Bravo wouldn't have canceled. I mean, and I also was nervous about everybody because I mean, Vegas is the most union dense place in the entire country because most of the hotels and the convention center are unionized. So that would also become like, I was also nervous about how that would have affected just every like 30,000 people coming because I just get anxious. I have a lot of empathy for people I don't even know.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah. And so I was literally like every day, like twitching and all that stuff. Thank God for Lexapro, which is what my doctor prescribes me. But yeah. So anyway, so Vegas is wild and big and all of these things. But I mean, BravoCon this year, like I actually didn't go for all 3 days. I ended up cutting it a little bit short. Mostly because I'm also trying to watch myself with like drinking all the time and being in an environment and like Vegas is already that, but also when you have a bar every 10 feet, kind of how BravoCon did, I was just kind of like, all right, third day, I was like, because I just know myself and my relationship.
Like on the floor drunk. You can ask Aaron. We saw people like.
Yeah. I was like, oh my gosh, is it really
was like
this
Bourbon
type of
Street
event?
in New Orleans. Yeah, it was. So that was a little bit weird for me. That there was, but I thought it was like inside the venue. I thought it was way better organized than in New York the year before. Because New York the year before, I was kind of like, I just stood in one area because I could not deal, especially since it was my first event, like big event that was like post everybody being inside. So I was like, too many people here. But I thought this year that the way that they laid it out was really amazing. I thought the opportunities they had, more opportunities to like, they had that stage that they had programming on, but that you could sit at, which was cool. So you could see people. They had the big stage, which I thought was way better. Like there's just the staging. And like, I felt like it was more to think about different people's ability needs. Cause last year I was just like, if you didn't get in or if you didn't push somebody, like you just weren't going to see anything. Like I didn't see any panel last year because I really couldn't see them. And this year I got to actually sit and see panels. And so I felt really good about that, the flow and everything. But I mean, it's interesting. It's like, the whole Vegas thing. And like, I thought our party was, I mean, if I do say so myself, great, but not only great, but it was like, it's kind of weird because Bravo should be throwing events for the content creators to get to meet each other, because like, that's how Bravo, like, that's what I just fundamentally believe, that every fandom should thank their content creators. And I do know that Bravo does, out of a lot of different companies, like they invite people to, I was on Watch What Happens Live 2 years ago, which was great. There have been people who have been bartenders. There are people who get to be invited to premieres. I was invited because my friend my friend Preston is on Summer House Martha's Vineyard because he used to be, active. So they are definitely open to that, which I feel really thankful for. But also at BravoCon, when you're bringing a bunch of people, like maybe a content creators bar or something, or like an area where content creators can, and then maybe people can create content there. I think that like if I were working for Bravo, that's what I would suggest, because it's like a way to give back to all these folks who do a lot of this labor and don't get paid,
Yeah, no, for sure. Like I thought it would be maybe a panel this year where they would maybe have a panel at BravoCon, if not like a separate event. Because I understand not having a separate event because you have like the 3 Watch What Happens Live, you have the after party, you have all those things. But I thought that they would have, at least a panel. But, they did us good. They gave us VIP tickets, and the VIP lounge was, an amazing
those chicken
thing.
spotters.
But I think that they do take feedback and put it into like their next event, because the one before the last one was my first BravoCon, so that was 2022 BravoCon. And it was hectic, but I loved it because I felt like it was a little bit more intimate. But I was general admission, I wasn't VIP, and I still had a good time. But I also was with my friend. You probably know Samaj, who's a content creator. So it was like a really fun time. But I noticed that like things that we complained about in the first one, they fixed with the second one. So maybe with
Yeah.
well, not the second one. That was technically like the third one. So maybe with the third one, they will fix and maybe
Yeah.
create that space that you're talking about, because that really I mean, I feel like it seems like a natural thing to do. Like they don't need to be
Right.
told to do it. So I
Yeah.
don't really know what
Like
the
even
deal
if it's
is,
an
but
area, right? It just has to be an area that content creators can
Right.
go in. You can eat it, and whether you're VIP or not, and so that content creators can meet each other. Because I
right,
think that's the thing, is that we all end up in so many different places, and it makes
networking.
sense. But if there was like a content creator like place to
It
like,
should be
then
a
a bunch of
lounge,
people would
yeah.
be going in, yeah, and yeah, just a
It
simple
would be
lounge,
nice.
like yeah,
Because a
like
lot of
if
us actually ran into each other without even knowing. Because we're
right,
so used to seeing like our memes and then our logo and stuff like
yeah,
that. So it's
yeah,
like after BravoCon, that's when everybody reached out and they're like, "Oh my
That
God, we've
was
seen you
you.
over
yeah,
here."
yeah. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. No, that's why we like. That's why I, for like the second year, came with like, we got these jerseys, which I should send y'all if you don't have them. We have like these Real Housewives of Politics jerseys that they say "Petty" on the back, and and the reason, like, we just walked around and people were like, "Wait, is that you all?" And we're like, "Yeah," because just because we were a walking billboard, and it was really helpful. But yeah, it's like sometimes you don't. And I remember that because from the year before, people, I would be like, "Oh, that was you."
Yeah, and
Mhm.
I felt
Yeah.
so bad because so many people were like, I said hi, but all you did was just like say hi, or you gave like a stank face. I'm like, that's literally just my face, one. But two, if I knew that was you, I would have like stopped. And then that's why we kept telling people every day we'll post a picture of us, but to our stories, and
Mhm.
like, this is what we look like today. Please stop us. And thank God some people did stop us, because I feel like that was
Yeah.
the best part of
Yeah,
BravoCon,
100%.
is other than booing Tom Sandoval, like I really enjoyed seeing, like, meeting these people and seeing their beautiful faces behind their screen names, and even just getting to
Yeah,
thank them, because without them we
yeah,
wouldn't even be there.
yeah,
So that's the
yeah.
best part
And
of
I
it.
think, I think the one thing that Bravo needs to, that they need, Bravo plus like the Bravo Labs, they need to figure out that Bravo Palooza Bazaar for, because when that gets to, I think they did a little bit better. It was weird because like last year was, I feel like, a little bit more intimate, or like 2022 was a little bit more intimate at the Bazaar, because that's where I stood. Like that, I was like, oh, they're all the Bravo Labs are going to come here, so I'm going to stand here. Then this year it was like either really
Mhm.
rigid or chaotic, and so there was this thing like, literally one of my my friends and content creators, she almost got like hit in the face at like in line for Sheena, because they all had to come, they had to buy it, like if they bought the Good as Gold record,
Yeah,
and they would come and get Sheena to sign it, and she almost got hit in the head, and it's like, that's where it's like not worth it. It is not worth, like, it is
yeah,
not,
Yeah.
for
nope,
good as
everybody who's
gold.
listening, it is not worth, it is not, I don't care who you are, do not deck somebody in the head unless they've touched you in a bad way and you're self-defense. But I think that they need to figure that out, because it leaves the like, these security people, they're like trying to be really like rough on folks, and then they add, it's just
Mhm.
like, it's getting to the point where it's just like something bad is gonna happen if they don't figure out a better way to like choreograph that. And I know it's hard because you want the like the organic, like, oh my God, this person just walked here, of course, don't
Yeah.
lose that, but don't make it so that people that's why that was my anxious, like, she texted me that, I was like, I was walking there and I was like, nope, I turned back around.
I know where not
Sat
to
down.
be.
So earlier you were telling us that you have a story about Vanderpump Rules and about Schwartz.
Yeah, because this is the
Yeah.
Vanderpump Rules premiere episode, you guys.
Yes,
We're gonna get into it, of course, but we had to get the most important
I
absolutely.
thing
did. I
out of the
did.
way
Ew.
first before we got
Hmm.
into that. But we want to know the story before we get into anything. Like, is that your friend? Is that your homie? If not, because
No, no, no. I mean, I'll tell it really quickly. Like, there's a bar which I will not name that is around it's actually very close to Schwartz and Shandy's, that a lot of my friends go to, and I was in LA for the summer supporting the writers and actors strike. I also got to go to, like, my other friend, like, there was a couple of nights where, like, one night, my friend who was a guest on Watch What Happens Live while I was the bartender, she got us a table at Sir, and it was see you next Tuesday. And it was like the see you next Tuesday right after the whole Vanderpump Rules like last season ended. So it was chaos in there. Everybody was like, the line was around the corner. And the tea is, and I'm really sorry, but Sir's food is, Pump was amazing. I went to one of the last nights of Pump too, because Pump closed, unfortunately, this summer. That food was great. It was so good. And people were literally slipping in, like people were trying to steal menus. People were throwing menus over the fence and having their person like catch it. Yeah, because Pump closed. So they wanted to take the things that said Pump.
Like
people were stealing yeah, but just straight up stealing it. Like I literally saw somebody throw it over the fence and somebody caught it. I was like, wow, people choreographed all of these things. So it was a big fiasco because it was like right after the season finale, right after Scandival. And I was at this bar one day, and my friend who's a bartender there is friends with Tom Schwartz, and he came up to us, and he was blonde hair at the time. I don't know if whenever he was platinum during the summer.
Schwartz.
Yes. And I was like, oh, but he was actually super nice. He bought me a bunch of shots. We talked a lot. We talked about being divorcees. I talked about pushing 40. He was like, I am 40. And it was like, here's the thing that I like, which I kind of knew, but I just didn't, is it like Tom Schwartz seems like a genuinely like nice guy in terms of like when you meet him, and if he's just like out in the world, he's like genuinely nice. He didn't seem like he was above anybody at the place. He didn't seem like, oh, I'm too good, I'm going to be in this corner. And like, look, a lot of them post Scandival were like, yes, their lives were ruined, but also everybody wanted to spot somebody. But he was like in just like a bar where it's like a neighborhood bar where everybody knows your name. He was just chill, which I respect that from anybody who's on television. Like I've seen too many people who have big heads, big egos, big things. All of that said, I do think this sucks, but like, it's like, bro, like you do need therapy, because I just don't understand how you treat women that you're intimate with. Let me just say that. Like, I just don't understand. We've seen it with like the relationship with Katie. You know, I saw it with like, I guess a person he was kind of, date. I don't know. They didn't tell us what their status was, but I was like, all right.
Crazy Joe.
No, okay. No, it wasn't. No, it wasn't. I don't know. I don't remember this person's name at all, because I was also a little bit lit. We're all doing shots and stuff. But he was actually, I mean, for somebody who like, especially for somebody who is at that level, to just be able to be like, yeah, I'm going to talk to you. Yeah, I got divorced and divorce sucks. And it's like, he didn't like assume I knew he got divorced. He didn't assume I knew who she was. He didn't assume, which honestly, after all of that, after that Scandival and all that stuff, I was expecting him to be like, oh, you probably know, but that was not it at all.
That's more like Sandoval's vibe, I feel, because I hear so many good stories. I'll be honest, as much as I hate Sandoval, before this happened, I would always hear stories about how either they went to Tom Tom, or even before Tom Tom was even a thing. Every time someone would go there, they would say how nice the Toms were to them. Like, they'll stop and they'll take as many pictures as you want. They'll even take pictures of you just so you have, like, that's how nice they are and personable they are. But Sandoval is the one who gives you the vibe that, like, he would have the big head after the whole blow up thing. Yeah. Schwartz, genuinely, I think it probably is from the Watch What Happens Live that he did. That was a disaster. That I'm like, that is a man who genuinely is just a man. Like, he's just Ken. Like, there's no thoughts. There's just, there's no thoughts. It's just a bunch of hair and clothes that he doesn't really know what to do with, and moo-moos, and just. But
he needs that speech. He needs that speech, like at the end, like he needs the Margot Robbie Barbie to Ken speech at the end, like find out who you are. Like he needs that speech, because like I actually like the thing is like when you can just tell a dude is a bad dude, like yeah. Just like, and I mean you could tell that with a lot, but men, I feel like, especially white men, to be honest, I know I'm like, don't touch him or whatever, or like don't even. But I'm just like, it's like frustrating. I'm like, you are so nice. You are like a really nice person, and like it sucks. And again, some people act a different way in front of cameras. I kind of saw the same thing. It's more of just like, I think that I think that there are certain men that the patriarchy hurt growing up, and they just don't know how to treat and interact with women a lot of times that they want to be intimate with.
Yeah, that is
Mhm.
fair. That is fair, and that's it. I always like to hear about people's encounters with Bravo celebrities, like in real life, because we've met a few in real life, and they are either exactly as they are on TV, or they're like 10 times nicer. I
Yeah.
haven't really had maybe like one person, maybe one, and they were just a Bravo celebrity adjacent who wasn't really like nice. So
Yeah.
that's cool that it falls in line with what I've heard about the Toms in general. So let's get into
Yeah.
it, y'all. The Vanderpump Rules season 11 premiered on Monday, and they started
Mhm.
with a new intro. That's the number one thing that obviously, like Aaron, iconically talk about how when they spill their drinks, the messier the season.
Yeah.
How did you feel about this intro,
Yes.
and how do you feel about this season?
Honestly, I like the intro, but I don't like it as much as last season's. I'll be honest, because this one it seems less Vanderpump Rules and more like we're about to see the inside of their house. Like I don't, it doesn't, it doesn't give me what last season gave me. In the premiere,
Pre-Scandal or post-Scandal? Because remember, we have like very high expectations, and I think that's what everyone's
yeah.
problem is, because I've been seeing a lot of chatter about how it was boring. I'm like, you guys got to understand, this is only 3 months after Scandal happened.
This is what I was saying though. This
So,
is what we said literally the last few days of
mhm,
Scandival, like with
mhm,
the last season after we seen the reunion. I'm like, it's gonna get to the point where we're tired of talking about it because we talked about it so much last season, and now we're seeing it
Mm-hmm.
resurface, and
Mm-hmm.
everybody said all they had to say about it. So it's like we want to put a bow on it and wrap it up.
So
Mm-hmm.
give
And
me
then we're
a
looking at
rating out of 10, and I want you to after Aaron, because I want to know y'all's opinions, like just like a rating.
for this one, I will say 7.
Yeah, that's like what I was thinking 6.57, like
Ooh.
for this episode as well. Like I was like, yeah, I'm thinking that. I just want to see them also. But the reason why for 7 for me is that I think finally they were a little bit more adults. Like I felt
Right.
like forget Scandal for a moment. Like it was kind of like they were all surrounding these places as if they really went there all the time and not just for the show. And I feel like they were a little bit more real. Like like when they show Ariana, she's dancing at the end, and it's like people are videotaping her. Like that's real life now, right? Like that is
Right.
people. So that's real life for them now, and I want to see that more rather than this like. And I also want to see something about her finally open. But I want to see their real lives, or they have to they have to remix it or something like that. Yeah.
We got Lala with bangs too, so this is serious. Like this is as serious as it's ever been.
And you know what else is getting serious? Salt Lake City, because Lisa Barlow got bangs.
I know
Yeah,
she got bangs.
and I
Listen,
like them. A lot of people are like, I don't like them, but I think it shows progression to me.
I think
It's like
it's like,
this
okay,
is
season 5.
season 5. Yeah,
Yeah,
What?
yeah. Also, I kind of like them. They
Me
actually
too.
kind of look
yeah.
good on her. There's some people who bangs do not work with, but they actually look. I mean, both of them, Lala and I thought I was like, well done. And I think Lala
Hmm.
to me, it's giving. I made a lot of money. Send it to Daryl. I
Right.
am, I am making new moves for
Right.
my life, and I like that for her.
I'm a mother, yeah, and a businesswoman. Um, so
Oh, and what would you rate it, Kaya?
why would you ask
Yeah.
me that? I was trying to go to the next question. I was trying to be slick. Um, it was a 7. It was a
Okay.
7. It was a 7. I like you said, like it was a little more grown and sexy, right? And I appreciate the new intro. I also appreciate that this is for the first time in Vanderpump Rules history that no one is working at the restaurant, because all that before was Raquel was working there, Charlie was working there. The season before that, it was like Ariana was working there. I'm like, y'all don't work there. Like, if I looked up there, y'all would not be working there at all. Like, it's been that way since like season 3 or 4, I've been hearing. So I'm just like, okay, this is the real. Like, this is Vanderpump Rules, but you don't have to. This is like our lives right now, and I think that people need to be a little bit patient with the show, because again, they're gonna bring up Scandival, because for us it's old, for them it's still new. When Ariana said that it was 3 months ago that Scandival happened, it's like, how would I feel if my ex publicly cheated on me 3 months ago with one of my best friends? I'm going to still be scorched earth on him. So I don't, the
Yeah.
whole get over it thing and it's the best thing that ever happened to her thing is just like, it pissed me off. But the good thing about it is that Sandoval's, and Schwartz, dumbass, went on Nick Vile's podcast, gave the worst interview he could possibly give as someone who is allegedly a changed person, but he couldn't even name how
I
he
heard
was
that.
changed. It was insane to even see those clips. But yeah, like, it just gave, if anything, she just got off of Broadway, so she's doing great. But we're talking about then and there. None of that stuff happened. I think she was at the beginning of getting like brand deals and things like that. Everyone had their
Yeah.
competing podcasts, coming off the high of that, especially Shenanigans. Sandoval said "fuck them kids" and blocked the Summer Moon and Sheena's sister and Shenanigans, and I don't know, like anything to do
He
with
he
it.
ate that one little thing, and I found
I
that
will say
funny.
he kind of ate that. The realistic version is that when you block someone, it'll say block this person or block this person in all their profiles. So if Summer Moon's profile is connected to Sheena's, then
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
automatically did it. But in my head, he went to Summer Moon's profile first.
Yeah, same.
Yeah.
I think it's so petty, but it's so
It's like,
hilarious. It's like, it's just hilarious. It's just good
because
content.
she's gonna look
I'm sorry.
here if
Yeah.
if I blocked her on the other one.
It's just like, it's insane. So like, obviously we got the screener, and I told you guys that I wasn't going to tell you too much, but I did tell you guys that people start flipping like pancakes, and it's not who you expect, because I would have expected, and if he texted back, it would have been Sheena. But I think the real thing to talk about here is that Lala decided to reach out to Raquel.
Yeah.
And you and I have very different opinions, Aaron. But I would like to know our guest's opinion before we put forth our opinions in cases.
Yes.
So you want to know my like real weird opinion? I mean, okay, so if my real keep it a buck 100 opinion is that somebody had to take the hill, because basically, like, they couldn't have just not completely ignored, I think, it all. And I think somebody had to take the hill, and Lala was kind of like, it's just gonna be me, because she just doesn't give, like, that's just her brand. She don't give a AF. Like, she'll just, like, if she's just like, you know what, gotta take the hill, gotta take the hill. But I feel like it was an opening for, because at that point, I don't think they knew if Raquel was coming back. Production. No. Like, there were, remember, there was still, like, they were still filming, and I remember being in LA, people were like, who knows? So I feel like they needed just an open door, because it couldn't just be like, ta-da, randomly, and it had to be an open door, because, and it also she had to feel like it was an open door. So I feel like it was a little bit of like, I don't think it was Lala being like, yeah, I'm gonna, although I do think her explaining her story and I do think, because I saw it in the reunion, I saw it through all of this stuff, is that it obviously triggered all the stuff that she had with her ex-husband. Clearly, like, it's triggered a bunch of stuff for her. So I do think that there's a lot of ways where I think that a lot of the anger she had about Raquel, even though they weren't really friends and they weren't really, like, I was always like, where's that anger coming from? It's like, oh, because you know what it feels like to become like the homewrecker and all of these, or not homewrecker, but you know what it feels like to be in that position. And you're probably like, I didn't mean to do it. So you're going to go yell, 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 and yell. So my like unpopular opinion is that it was a kind of a production setup, and somebody had to take the hill, and like Katie wasn't going to do it. Doesn't look good for her brand with Ariana. Yeah. Sheena definitely wasn't going to. that's the only thing I have to say. I'm so sorry. This is not that. But everybody on the internet being like, I can't believe Sheena is making this all about her. I have to remind folks that Sheena was the one who went to court. And I am sorry, as somebody who is in the criminal justice system and fights the criminal justice system, like, it's no joke to get taken to court, no matter what. Like, that is a mind thing. So yes, there's a lot of stuff that she goes too far about, but she did get taken to court. So of course she ain't texting that lady, and she had a restraining order. So like, who else is left? Allie? Absolutely not. The old girl. Like, it was like, there's only one person besides Lisa Vanderpump, but she's not getting in that.
Yeah, because she's like, this is what I pay for you for. So.
Yeah. Exactly.
Oh my God, that's so funny.
Well, what are your thoughts? Sorry, that's my opinion. Sorry, I went on for a little bit.
No, that's what I asked. Like, I wanted to genuinely know before we even spoke. I'm like, okay, let's get an unbiased like opinion. I personally am a Lala Kent fan. Love her. But that was fake as fuck. I don't see why she did that. It didn't make no sense to do that. She would hate it if someone else did that. She showed her whole ass last season when Schwartz was trying to hang out with Randall, and I don't think that anyone should hang out with Randall, so please don't misconstrue my words. But I feel like it wasn't even shenanigans that I was tuning into when I wanted the tea on what was going on or how people felt. I tuned into Lala's podcast, not just because I'm a fan of Lala, but also because the bitch tells it like it is. So I tuned into her podcast. You know, I was into the whole Senate Sandero thing. I saw that out of everyone there, who capitalized on it the most, outside of Ariana, and I guess Tom, because he did do 2 shows, and the other Tom, was Lala. Lala bought herself a motherfucking house because she was in an apartment before it. So for you to go from an apartment to a house because you got all these merch sales, you got the podcast deals, you got the podcast downloads, you got all this shit from Ariana's pain, and then you were the number one like yapper at the reunion, calling that girl everything under the sun, for you to be like, well, I know what it feels like to be the home wrecker that didn't mean to. Like, it's not the same thing, sweetie, because if it was done to you, you would literally be going off. And then on top of that, it just didn't make her reason didn't make any sense. I just know for a fact that it was her doing it out of storyline and not out of genuine, I know what this feels like. Because she has hated Rachel before this. She's the one who coined the term Bambi-eyed bitch. She never liked her, ever. Like, ever. So for her to just all of a sudden go back and be like, oh, I know what it feels like, and I feel bad, and she's going to be isolated, and I just wanted to no. And then it's also the way that she did it. Okay, let's just say for storyline's sake, for production's sake, it was told, Lala, you're going to be the first point of contact. It would make sense for her to go to Ariana beforehand and say, not even to ask for permission, because I think it's just like not her style to ask for permission. It's more to ask for forgiveness.
Yeah.
But since you literally use this to your advantage so much so that you have gotten a house and you moved in your mama and your brother and your cousin and everybody, your whole village to raise your baby, which you should, and I'm very happy for you about that. You should have went to your girl first and said, I'm going to reach out to Rachel because X, Y, and Z. Not go outside behind Tom, send her a voice note, and then say, you know, at dinner, no, bitch. Like, I would have cursed her out. I do not understand. I don't think it's cute. Don't think it was necessary. Don't think you're telling the truth. Thought it was stupid. And the thing is that you're right. They didn't know if Rachel was coming back or not. They were anticipating for her to come back. But Lala wanted to be the first one to have that first conversation, to have that first everything. It was more about storyline more than genuine feelings. But I can also understand it because her and Ariana have had this hot and cold relationship. So, you know, there's both sides to it. But when I look at it I would have been like, all right, you chose your side. Bye, bitch. And I love Lala. So that's hard for me to say.
Mm-hmm.
And I know Aaron feels it because Aaron threaded it. Aaron live threaded it, y'all. And I saw
I
something.
did. What did you see?
I saw something. Go ahead and tell the people
I
how you
didn't say
feel.
anything that bad. I didn't say anything that bad though.
You didn't say
I feel
anything
like
bad. I'm just saying, I'm like, oh,
like you
picked the
said,
salt.
this is more so for a storyline. You can tell.
Yeah.
Lala did this. She has to make it happen because anyway, it's not making sense. It's like at some point, Ariana has to understand that this is a show. This isn't her show. If she wants a spinoff, she can get a spinoff about her. But and then on top of that, it's like I could understand if she's like doing her own things. Ma'am, you're at Tom Tom.
Mm-hmm.
The pictures are still up.
Mm-hmm.
You're still living with him. It's like, so stop trying to make it seem like every time the camera is in front of you, like, oh, I can't stand this man. I can't be around him. You're trying, it's like, but yet you're at Tom Tom, but yet you're still in the house. And I understand what she means. It's like, oh, well, we got to sell that house. Like, you make enough money. If you don't want to stay there, you don't have to stay there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So it's like, if she wants to be out of that house, she could literally get her an Airbnb or whatever the case may be,
Or the La Quinta.
and figure it out. La Quinta, and she has plenty of family members and friends that would support her during that time. But it seems like it's not that urgent for you. So it's like, why is it that you're looking for everyone around you to like feel the same way and jump on this bandwagon and support the bullshit? Because it's like it's only so much bullshit that we can support.
Well, I think it's because Rachel is not with the group and Tom is also not with the group. So what are you guys missing?
Yeah. I mean,
I think it's like, if we're not gonna chase after Rachel, what are we gonna do?
We have to,
because it's like she's. I mean, are we gonna be on set with you and who is she and Megan Good in the Lifetime movie?
Which I would like to see pictures of if anyone knows anything about that.
Because we're not, we're not there yet. It's like, so
Jonathan Majors.
You gotta go with the flow of things, and right now they're like, okay, well, it's not shit. Well, girl, you're not really talking about shit, so let's call this girl up, and that's what Lala is doing. She's like, I have to pay my mortgage. Like, we can't stop here. She capitalized off it, and she's like, we can't stop here. We got to keep going.
You make a great point.
Now we have to keep doing things to row the boat.
Yeah,
because if not,
the show has to go on.
If Lala did not reach out to Rachel, honestly, that would have been rated a 4.
That's real. Not much happened in the episode.
Because it's like, what else are we gonna do? I love Lisa Vanderpump, but we didn't get Ken Todd like that. So
fair enough. Come on now.
Yeah.
Don't play with Ken.
Yeah.
We need to know. We need more people too. Like, where's Peter?
They never
want to show Peter.
Like, come on.
And I
Peter
think they have like you said, it's more like a grown adult tone now. So, and it's like they've removed themselves from the bar/restaurant,
which was the setting of the mess,
the drama, so much so where it's like, what else do we have right now? So it's like we have to pull things out. It's only so much that Lala can talk about her marriage and co-parenting and all of that, well, her divorce now. And then even with Ariana,
I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I just remember 80. The freaking point that I'm also trying to make is that Lala, girl, we want to know what was the real tea between you and Randall. What is really going on?
Right.
Who are you dating? Because I know that you have to be dating someone. And what's going on in your personal life that is your tea? Because you got lucky. A lot of people got lucky. I would say
a lot of people got lucky. Almost everybody on that show, except for Katie, who was just living her life.
Well, Katie was just set up. Okay, let's go through the different storylines. Katie and Tom Schwartz, they had their divorce, which was kind of a shock.
And that was a storyline
I'm very much interested in seeing.
Yes.
Sandoval and Ariana, they really didn't have shit going on, so they made shit going on for them. Lala didn't have shit going on. Sheena is always Sheena's never, as much as I love her music and everything, but she's not really a real friend to anybody, in my opinion, because sometimes you just have to pick a side. She didn't really have much going on, except, you know, she got married, but we forgot about that. They went all the way to Mexico. We forgot about
She
that.
was trying to get her a bag. And that's why she's like, as a matter of fact, after this, watch my commercial.
Exactly. So, I mean, Lala
But Sheeta
really
was the pot stirrer though last season. Like when it came to the Raquel thing, like she at least had her like, not to say that she was good or bad in that, but she at least knew I gotta stir it. If I'm not gonna it was bad. If I'm not gonna be the center, she was like, let me just stir it. So she was she was the pot stirrer. So she did something.
That's a great point. She was the pot stirrer, and she had her wedding, and you know, that was a beautiful moment. She has her house husband. But Lala didn't have shit going on. So I'm like, okay, girl, you got lucky. And now you're trying to get lucky again and set up this storyline to make yourself the opening for Raquel to come back so you can get more camera time. But you're not telling us what's going on in your life. Like, what's going on in Lala's
She
life?
doesn't want to talk about that right now.
Exactly.
I do think it's going to come out.
I mean, she does. She does. She just got a deal with Hulu to talk about it. Like, let's just be real. She went to a rival network. NBC Universal is owned by Comcast, ABC Disney, and she went to Hulu to tell her story. So somebody didn't want it to be told because it was told. She sat down for an interview. There was a whole.
Yeah, it was told, but you have to like be in that kind of world, like within the group. Like, what are you bringing to Vanderpump rules?
Yeah, totally.
You know? So it's just like, what's the tea with you? Because I feel like you're hiding something, and I respect it. But
I think she knows the tables are turning too. Like at first, everybody just with her because their team like get Rachel and send the ball off the show. But now that things have like kind of calmed down, like, they can be like, "Oh,
what are we going to talk about?"
I remember you at the reunion, and then they're going to bring up because they're already bringing up clips from like season 1, season 2. I remember when you did this and that. So she's trying to like beat them to the point, like, "Oh, you know what? Actually, I do kind of sympathize with her because I once did this and that." And that's what I was saying at the reunion too. I'm like, Lala can only go so hard.
Yeah, like, girl, come on.
She can only go so hard. She can only do so much.
We tried to tell you.
And you know, they're saying the same thing with Ariana. I don't think Ariana was as bad as Lala, but I do think that it's like, girl, come down.
That was a whole husband with 2 kids, and the girl used to be on Instagram. The girl on You, Candace from You, used to be on Instagram dragging the hell out of Lala, and Lala used to be dragging her back. So
so it was a bit more intense, but like now with Ariana, they're like, okay, girl, like we got to see something else because you can't keep complaining and nagging and doing all of this.
And I think that she also hinted it's very much like a Mark and Kenya situation where he doesn't want the baby to be shown on Vanderpump Rules. And I'm not saying that her baby will be her storyline, but that's very annoying that you can't film, you know, with your own child. So that takes one element out of it. She doesn't really want to tell us what's really going on with Randall, or she can't legally tell us what's going on with Randall. So she has to kind of, but I'm like, this is not what I want to see. What I wanted to see was Katie, Lala, Ariana, all single, all going zipping and zooing it, and like just having a good like girls' night out, like Hannah Montana. And this is not what we got. It is something.
And Ariana's already in a relationship.
Ariana is,
which to me, I'm sorry, like, and whatever.
What do you feel about that?
I mean, whatever.
Like, some people say that she moved on way too fast, but I mean, I would agree, but they're still together right now. But what do you feel about that?
I'm not. Here's my thing: is like I can't tell. Like, I used to be the like judge everybody who moves fast, but honestly, my recent relationship, like I'm literally living with him right now, and we met in like August, so I'm not like I'm not. So. However, what I will say though, and also like it gives me more kind of like, actually, if you are gonna jump into something, be long distance. I mean, like that's the whole thing. Is like I moved in with him for the winter because I live in Philly and I would like to be in Florida for the winter. However, I'm going back to Philly, so it's like because they live on 2 different coasts. That seems right. Like they're in a relationship, but also they're getting to know each other, and there's time, right? And there's space. Yeah. I don't really like, I can't judge. I think that people do relationships all differently. So like what each their own. I just wish she just had, I just know that like if you're in a relationship for a long time, to just get into another one, like just take some space. Like that was the best thing I ever did after I got divorced, was just like I took some space, I hoed it up. I didn't hoe it up at all, right? Like I had all different types of things and I was able to explore, and I just want her to be able to explore. And if she feels like she still can, because also people have different relationship standards and maybe they have an open relationship, or, you know, and I'm not talking about Tom Sandoval open. I'm talking about like, whatever it is. If she got room to do whatever she wants, how she wants, that's all I care about. That's what she deserves. But I do think it's like, I was sad because I wanted to see them all go out and like mess around and just be silly together. And now we're going to have Katie doing it. And I'm just like, I don't know. There's this thing where as a queer person, there's like this queerness that's happening in Bravo that I love, but it also feels very weird. It feels very forced. Like these folks are like, oh, I'm just going to do it because it's the cool thing now. Like I like women and stuff. And I don't know. Again, to each their own, but it feels a little bit like, I mean, I kind of always got a queer vibe from Katie because I have
because when it came out, people were like, this makes complete sense.
Yeah. Well, I think that the internet said it made complete sense because a lot of people have said in the past that she looks like a man, and I think that that's fucked up. I think that the internet, like because of her masculine feature, like because of the perceived, like when somebody's that tall, taller than their man, like all of these things, like I do actually think that why. But to me, she's always just giving me that vibe just because, like I always thought she wanted to kiss Stassi like for many years. I'm just like, just kiss Stassi already. But yeah, I think I'm excited to see Katie, be out and about and not be so serious because she deserves that time. I wish I could see Ariana too, and hopefully we'll get to see Lala, but it doesn't look like it.
You know what? That was real as fuck.
Yeah.
Everything you said, that was really real. And I can genuinely appreciate that. Like, wow.
Yeah.
And I also want to say I agree with what you said about Katie. I think she just gives me like, the Breakfast Club movie. She just gives me that energy. Like,
yeah, 100%.
I could see it. It's the short hair too. I'm just like, you're in your
era. Is it the eyebrows? Like Brandy Glanville said. Because she's always been an eyebrows girl. She has the
not necessarily the eyebrows with Katie. Like Katie does have nice eyebrows, but I think it's in like the shortcut. I think this is her like shortcut.
I think also the she's playing with fluid gender stuff in terms of her outfits, where she was like very. If you look back in the day, remember she had that orange hair. Oh God. Like that orange, like because she was just trying to dye it lighter because that was the vibe of California girls and what she thought was LA and all that stuff. So like her playing with gender, playing with different, like, and a lot of people have commented on, oh, you look terrible, and I actually really appreciated her being like, I don't care, I like it. Good for you, Katie. Good for.
She's in her top era. She's a top.
Yeah, she's definitely a top. Sometimes I like her outfit, sometimes I don't, but I don't care. She looks good because she feels confident. And I know that just from the vibe. I know that she's liking herself, so I'm like,
right.
Go ahead, girl.
I'm just glad that people are like giving Katie a chance because I've always been a Katie girl because it's just so easy to not like Katie because Schwartz is such a Labrador energy dude that everyone would be like, oh, I fucking hate Katie. She's such a bitch to him.
Because that was me. Like 2 years ago, I was like, oh my gosh, get her off the TV. And now I'm like, I really like Katie.
Yeah. It's been a great
I've gone up and down.
Yeah.
That's fair. That's fair.
But I think that she's always been herself. I'll say that. Like, I think a lot of people have gone in and out of fakeness or in and out of, but she's always been like, this is my life. This is like, I don't feel like there is a secret. I think out of all of them.
Especially once Stotzi left, like she found herself. And
100%.
She was able to, stand.
It was when she left Schwartz, because it's like everybody just hated her in Schwartz, and that's what we didn't realize. It's like, what is it? Why do I not like this girl? I just don't like her and Schwartz together, and I actually like Schwartz a little bit more too.
Oh,
now that they have grown apart.
Oh,
I will take Schwartz, and like I said, I said that on the tweet. Schwartz is like, you know what? I might not be shit, but I'm not Tom Sandoval, and that 100%. I can respect.
Yeah.
That I can respect. It's and like, honestly, who else am I gonna
out of all the guys that show has had, I mean, come on, Jax. Like, I just like out of all the guys like that the show has had,
the bar
is so low.
Mhm.
And again, I think that Schwartz, like that's the thing that I've always respected about Katie and Schwartz. I think that they were 100% themselves. They were just terrible with each other. And so that's going to show off into readers. But I don't think that there's any secrets of their lives that we don't actually know. Like there are a lot of questions I have about Lala's past. Lots of questions. Like there are a lot of questions I have about Ariana. There are a lot of questions. I mean, I think more so not now after Scandival, but yeah, I think I would still, I think out of all those guys, to be honest, I'd probably still take Schwartz. Like out of all the, like run it back to from the beginning, like I would still take Schwartz. And that's sad.
And that's kind
easy.
of like what the state of the world is right now. It's like picking the lesser of two evils, you know?
It's easy. I would say Peter, but
oh yeah, well they don't put Peter as a main. That's why he's not in the running. Otherwise,
I still pull the Peter card. I'm just like Peter is the safest bet.
Shout out to Peter, man. Come back on the
Shout out to Peter.
Love him.
Give us a tea. Well, it was such a pleasure, like finally talking to you, getting to know you. We have to have you back, of course. Your busy schedule, like we were able to finally like do this in the new year on the first day of Black History Month. Like it just all fell into place. So, and I think that that's what happens with these things. But before we say goodbye, please tell us, is there anything you're working on? Is there anything that people need to support? Like, let us know what's going on.
Yeah, I will just shout out. If you are following Real Housewives of Politics, you should also follow the Working Families Party, which helps supports us and is an organization that's going to be talking about ways to volunteer this year. It's an election year. Elections start as soon as in a few weeks. Like the first election primaries that are like consequential in our country. California, you got a big one for Senate. You could pick Barbara Lee. We love her. But yeah. So check out the Working Families Party if you want to get involved in elections. And if you're at South by Southwest on March 11th and March 12th, on Monday and Tuesday, we are having a politics house. We're going to have culture. We're going to have podcasts. We're going to live podcasts. We're going to have a film screening. So follow Working Families, and we're about to announce the full lineup in a couple weeks. But if you're at South by Southwest, stop by. Our house is free. You just got to sign up on our Eventbrite.
Yes.
That's perfect.
Make sure y'all go do that. Go check it out. Go do that and go follow the pages. We'll make sure to list them too in the description.
Yeah. I think that most
guys.
of our followers follow you anyway because it's like a natural, like, you know, like, but if you don't, you need to. And thank you guys for tuning in, and thank you for coming to chat with us, especially for so long. And thank you, Aaron, for dropping out when I'm doing the outro. But I'm just gonna end the show without him. Actually, this is the Kaya show. Thank you so much for coming. Y'all follow everyone below and sign up for our Patreon. We love you so much, and we will be back for the pop culture episode. Bye. I wonder if he's going to be pissed that I ended the show without him. Hey, I ended the show.